Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, where we break down the latest and greatest Premier League action. And news is emerging this morning that Frank Lampard is very close to losing his job as Everton manager. This is something we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. Obviously their form of late has not been great at all, and it appears that those back-to-back losses against Southampton and West Ham have brought things to a head, Joseph. Now, he's been in charge for less than a year, actually appointed on the 31st of January in 2022. And since then, things have gone from bad to worse.
Yeah, I mean,
it started out okay.
The weekend was a disaster.
The weekend very much the nadir of that. But the last time they won was in October. 2 draws and 8 losses in all competitions since. Only a draw against Manchester City, preventing Lampard from suffering 9 defeats on the bounce. So all of this, not a surprise. Is there anything you want to add in terms of Everton's numbers before we move into potential candidates who might be replacing Lampard in the hot seat?
It makes pretty grim reading, doesn't it? It makes for very grim reading, actually. And I have to say, I'm eating my words a little bit. You guys said this, called this would happen a couple of months ago on Sunday Vibes. And I feel a little bit sorry for Frank Lampard. I don't know why. I like the guy. I do like Frank Lampard, but it hasn't worked, has it? 4th bottom for expected goals, 2nd bottom for expected goals against, 2nd bottom for expected points. Things were continuing, they were going down. No doubt about it, they were going down. I mean, 38 Premier League matches in charge of Everton, 35 points. Not great reading for Frank Lampard, but I still feel like, weirdly, and I know things are super toxic at Everton, we do have to point out that this runs a lot deeper than Frank Lampard, the problems at this club, the things that are going on behind the scenes, at directorial level and in the boardroom are all over the place. It's a fiasco behind the scenes right now, and I really do feel sorry for Everton fans because, you know, it couldn't be going much worse there. But I still feel like there is a squad there capable of staying up this season, and with the right appointment, you know, players like Onana, I think is still a really good player. Wobie, I still think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's got goals in him. If they get Danjuma Malone over the line, Jordan Pickford's one of the better goalkeepers in that relegation scrap. I think that there is the squad there to keep them up.
Yeah,
there is the squad to keep them up.
We said this in the summer, didn't we? We didn't mind their business, particularly given the circumstances. Like, unlike Everton managers before him, Frank Lampard did not have a lot to spend. They bought a decent profile of player, but maybe just Lampard as a manager at current, well, not maybe, definitely, doesn't have the skill set to deal with the situation the club currently finds themselves in. And he now has a worse win ratio than Rafa Benitez, who was completely hounded out of Merseyside, wasn't he? Let's have a look at the bookies' favourites then for who is going to assume his position in the hot seat. And we have Sean Dyche and Marcelo Bielsa leading the way. Let's discuss them as candidates then, because the other 5-6 don't feel that realistic. You know, you've got Espirito Santo, maybe Allardyce returning,
not
no chance.
Back, no chance.
David Moyes feels like pie in the sky at this point. Wayne Rooney, absolutely not. So let's keep our focus on those 2 managers. Out of them, which one would you go for? And I want instinct here.
Bielsa.
Okay.
Absolutely, I would go for Bielsa. I am shocked this name is on the table. I'm shocked that Bielsa would be willing to go into this role. I think some of the disrespect shown towards Marcelo Bielsa since his leaving of Leeds and the last probably 6 months of Leeds has been quite bizarre. I saw him linked to the Bournemouth job and people were saying, I think Gary O'Neill would do a better job there. I cannot believe what I'm hearing here. I think Marcelo Bielsa is the master of creating a culture at a club quickly. You saw him take over Leeds when they were 15th in the Championship, and admittedly it was in the summer, and I don't think it's ideal to appoint Bielsa mid-season, but this isn't an ideal situation for Everton. And he came in and effectively within the course of 6 months had completely overhauled the culture. They finished 3rd. Unfortunate to lose in the playoff final, of course. I think it was against Aston Villa, wasn't it? The second season blew the Championship away. First season, the Premier League blew the Premier League away. I think they finished 9th. And this idea that, you know, he can't coach defence and he can't do this and do that, I think is just an utter nonsense, to be honest with you. His Leeds team was a team fairly ramshackled without massive stars in it, that he immediately improved individual players. He had players like Stuart Dallas, Luke Ayling, Liam Cooper improved overnight under him, and I see no reason that he can't create a similar culture at Everton. I think the fans there in particular are looking for someone almost to come in and be that guy that pulls everything together and overhauls the culture and gets everybody pulling in the same direction. And I think that's exactly what Bielsa does. I think Leeds were in a similar situation where they were kind of drifting along. They didn't really have an identity. They didn't really have a feel to the club. The fans were feeling a little bit separate to the players. And what Bielsa does is he brings it all together. He creates this cult. And I think that's just what Everton need. And I think he can keep them up. It'll be very tight. He can keep them up. But then I would back second season. I think that they would improve drastically under Bielsa. I think he's that good of a coach.
I think it's an interesting point you make in that they are so low as a club right now. They have almost got to turn to someone with the force of personality of Bielsa.
It needs like huge there.
To inject some life into something that feels very close to death right now. However, I think they have, unfortunately, gone past the point where bringing him in would be feasible for me. I now think they're at pragmatic, 11th hour, Sean Dyche territory. Because if you're going to bring someone like Bielsa in,
still half a season left.
Prior to the World Cup would have been the perfect time to bring someone in. Someone whose system is complex, someone whose system, it did take these Leeds players who came from mediocrity to Premier League stability, let's say, a season in the Championship to muster, 3,000, 4,000 minutes to turn Liam Cooper, Luke Ayling into these.
But he took them from 15th to 3rd. They were very close to being a Premier League team straight away.
Sure, but that is in the Championship where
they've just got to stay up.
Where you can climb the rungs much, much quicker.
There's some dross down there. He's just got to turn that overnight.
What Everton are at the moment is terrible in transition. They're so porous in transition. And we've actually seen that from some of Bielsa's sides, even when they're flying, right? Because of the man-to-man system they play, because of the health 11 football they play. They're still in transition. They can be susceptible to counter-attacks and get absolutely whooped by bigger sides. I think without a competent attack, bringing in someone that doesn't fix this defence is very high risk. Like you said, it might be high reward.
I
don't want to write it off completely. I think he improves things. I think probably a case of right sort of profile, wrong time for me. I feel like they need to be realistic. This is what I would do. You
go Dyche, yeah.
I'm being conservative.
I understand.
I'll play it safe.
Brexit FC.
I would bring someone in who is going to stabilise that defence, stop them conceding a record amount of shots per game.
I don't
stop them being so porous in transition. I don't think he does, but that is what he's been historically good at.
With
the information we have right now, that is the conclusion I'm arriving at. We disagree. But what do you lot at home think? Bielsa ball or Dyche
I'd be surprised though, just before we wrap it up, I would be surprised if they're able to get Bielsa. What's attracting Bielsa to that club right now?
It's a very valid point.
Do you know what I mean? What's pulling him in? I feel like it's a mess in the boardroom, it's a mess on the pitch, the recruitment's a mess. What's teasing him out of being just sitting on a beach in Nice? And
it took a concerted effort from Leeds, didn't it, to seduce him to Yorkshire. Everton would have their work cut out in that regard for sure. But yeah, Bielsa or Dyche or an alternative manager. Maybe you do think Wayne Rooney is a good idea. Let me know in the comments below and we'll hit you up in the first hour when this video is live. Other than that, subscribe to the channel with notifications on. Hit the like button. It does help us out. It'd be very much appreciated. And we'll catch you next week on Winners and Losers. Or maybe even this week at the weekend. Goodbye.